He opened the door for my appointment and looked at me and shut the door. And then he's like, comes back in and he's like, I did not expect to see this. No, I guess it was after I married my current husband. My ex-husband was murdered.
All right, today joining us we have Kathy. This is actually Pat's sister, who you may remember from a earlier episode. She's gonna share a little bit about her life and experiences. So Kathy, if you can just open up with a little bit about your early life, upbringing, parents, stuff like that. Just move through all of that.
Okay. I grew up in Pittsfield, Massachusetts with two parents, a sister, and two brothers. It was a great experience growing up there. We always had things to do and places to go. It wasn't like nowadays the kids don't seem to have a lot to occupy their time, but we always did. We made up things along the way. We played games. It was a great childhood and upbringing. So
tell us a little bit about your parents. How was their relationship?
My parents were complicated people. My mom was a little tough and rough around the edges, not only to the kids, but I think also to my father. But he loved her and he stuck around, and he passed away, and I think she's kind of lost without him, but it's all good.
Well, it seems like you managed to work through some of those difficulties.
I did. With only the help of Jesus, I worked through a lot of that stuff because I also married someone that was abusive. My first marriage was abusive. So.
Well, let's dig a little deeper into your childhood. Can you remember any interesting stories, from when you were like maybe really little or just growing through grade school?
Geez, now you're really making me think because I don't remember much from back then. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
You never got into any trouble? You never...
I didn't. I was perfect.
Oh, okay. You were perfect.
It was my sister, Pat, that was the troublemaker.
Okay.
And I think that I saw all the trouble she got into, so I went out of my way to be a people pleaser and not follow suit with her. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well then, why don't we move a little bit more into grade school? How was your experience there? What were you into?
Yeah.
Anything interesting happening?
Well, I was really into running back then. I can't run now because of my health and everything, but I really liked to run, and I did the 100-yard dash in our races and things like that. Actually, I had fallen in a driveway at school and broke my tooth vertically this way. That's why I have a gap now, because this one's a cap. So that was a devastating experience. So
that put a damper on your running career, I guess?
Yeah. I kind of ran in junior high and high school some, but I could only do the short distances, and I didn't know at the time why I couldn't run like long ways. And yeah, one time I was playing tennis in the back of the school during PE, and my school that I went to, my junior high, had windows all along the back, and I decided that I would jump over the tennis net. I can only say it didn't end well for me. I got my foot caught in the net and splat right down on my face on the tennis court, and everybody saw me through the school.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So did you, get a little embarrassed there?
Oh, I was totally mortified.
Were they teasing you?
Yeah, because then they made me go to the nurse, and they called my mother, and I'm sitting outside waiting for my mother, and everybody's walking by. We saw you. We saw you. I was like, yeah. So that was.
And how old were you there?
Probably 12, maybe.
Okay, so like middle school, you're saying?
Yeah, it was middle school. Junior high, we called it back then.
Yeah. Any other hijinks you can think of that happened during your time in school?
In high school, there was a lot of things we did to have fun. We would, of course, I drank back then, and the drinking age was only 18, and I looked like I was 25, so there's that. So I didn't have trouble, getting the liquor and everything, but we had a state park that we would go up there and build bonfires and have parties and stuff, and our school was right across the street from a lake, so we would skip school all the time and go to the lake instead of, especially during the, nicer weather, we would just skip school and go over there and hang out at the lake.
Gotcha. Well, I thought you told me that you were a goody two-shoes, and now I'm hearing about that you were drinking.
High school was a little,
It got a little dicey in high school.
And that's when I started dating my first husband, was in high school too. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was, like I told you, it was abusive and not a good relationship, and we should have never got married at all. But it is what it is. I have 3 beautiful kids from it, so there's always good in everything. So.
Yeah, which is a good message to keep in mind, you know, when you're going through difficult things, that often things work out for the best in the end.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other funny stories that you can think of from then?
I was the first one out of my class to get my driver's license. And one day I was driving home from school, and we had this long hill that we had to go down. And I was hauling butt down that street, and I look up, and there's a cop there. So I was like, oh, crap. So my mother would have killed me if she knew. So I didn't say anything. And I kept running home from school before the mail came to try to get the ticket or the whatever it was back in the day before my mother could see it. You know, I was going to take care of it and be done with it. But the one day I had to stay after school for something was the day the mail came, of course, with my ticket in it. So that wasn't it.
So you didn't get away with it?
Yeah. No, I didn't get away with it. I tried.
Well, you didn't get off scot-free.
I'm sure I did not get off scot-free.
Well, so, you know, we've kind of moved through high school a little bit. Presumably you graduated?
I did graduate.
In spite of the
with
difficulties?
Honors. Yes.
Oh, wow, with honors, okay. Yeah. So from there, did you go right into college, or?
No, I was enlisted in the Navy. I was on the delayed entry program. So I was going to go in right after high school, but I went for my last physical before they were going to ship me off to boot camp and found out I was pregnant. So needless to say, they discharged me from the Navy, and I got married to my then boyfriend and had a baby instead. He went in the Navy in my place.
Okay, and what did you do for work? You know, did you go back to school or anything?
No, I didn't go back to school right away, but I did work for a convenience store chain as one of their managers and things like that. And then, you know, I've had many jobs along the way, but, you know, that was the main one I was doing at the time until I went to medical assistant school. And of course, then I worked for doctor's offices.
Okay, so yeah, take us a little bit through your career, you know, piece by piece.
Well, the first doctor, I got hired by the doctor that we did our externship with. But so I worked with him for most of the time, and then I decided I really liked the medical field, so I wanted to, you know, pursue a nursing degree. And at that time, when I decided to do the nursing degree, I was actually getting a divorce from my first husband. So it was all during that I, you know, was getting divorced, changing places to live, trying to figure out life, and I really wanted to finish nursing school because I figured I could take care of my kids. But then I got remarried, like at the end of my nursing school, I believe it was, and have been married to him since then.
So how did you manage going through school and having 3 kids? It
was really difficult. It was the hardest thing I ever did, probably. And right before I married, no, I guess it was after I married my current husband, my ex-husband was murdered. And so I was dealing with that with nursing school, and I was diagnosed with a hereditary heart disease where they only gave me a year to live. So.
And that was how many years ago?
30-something years ago. Maybe more than that, I don't know.
So don't always listen to your doctor.
No, don't. And I was distraught. I mean, I was, you know, like, here my kids just lost their dad, and now they're going to lose me. And, you know, my current husband he did not have to take care of my children, you know what I'm saying, if I had passed away. I mean, we know that he would have, but, you know, it wasn't his place. They weren't his kids, and I don't know what would have happened to my kids had I actually passed away too, so. Yeah,
well, would you be willing to share a little bit about what happened with your ex-husband? You said he was murdered.
As I told you, he was abusive, and he never met a fight he didn't like. So he would start them, he would get involved in them when he shouldn't have. He was just that kind of guy. He had like especially if he'd been drinking, he had a really bad temper. And it was actually a friend of his and his brother. They were driving home from work one day, and the friend's girlfriend called him on the telephone and told him that her ex-husband had just come to pick up the kids and had slapped her. So they saw him actually driving down the road, so they decided to follow him home. So they followed him to the driveway and pulled in behind him. Steve, the friend, got out of the car, came up to his window, and he shot him 9 times point blank in the face when his kids were in his car with him. And then my ex-husband was running away from him, and he shot him in the back. And my brother-in-law was up under the car trying to hide, and he's the only one that survived. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was a horrifying experience, and something that we'll all deal with till the day we die. But it changes a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
When somebody is murdered in your family. So.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds difficult, and I hate for anyone to go through it, but
It was very.
did you take any lessons away from that experience? Is there anything that you can share?
Yeah, at the time I had become a born-again Christian, and the first thing my daughter said when I had to tell my kids that he had passed away, she dropped to her knees and said, "Mom, he went to hell because he wasn't saved." And I said, you don't know what happens in those last few minutes right before somebody dies. Maybe God gives them one more chance, to accept him. And I'm telling her this, but in my heart, I'm like, he went to hell. That's what we believe happens, if you don't accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. So I had a hard time. I would pray all the time, Lord, just show me that he's there. Let me know that he's safe and, all that. So I would do that constantly. And then one day, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and he said, "Why do you doubt me?" And I was like, I don't. And actually, a friend of ours had come up to me at the funeral and said that he had gone to church with her the Sunday before and actually had given his life to Christ. So then, but I still was having, the issue. Lord, I need to know. I need to know he's with you, And that's when he said, do you not trust me? Or so I was like, yes, I trust you. And I never thought about it really in those ways again, because I knew,
Yeah. So you had some peace after that.
I did have some peace after that.
That's good. And perhaps another lesson that we can take is don't act out in anger.
Don't act out in anger. It's not worth it. You just walk away. You don't go looking for fights. You don't go, jumping in the middle of them. Life is short and people are nuts. So, that's what happened to him. And you see it every day nowadays, but back then, it wasn't really a double homicide, it was an unusual thing even for then. So.
Okay, well, can you take us into your experiences after that? You found out that you had this condition.
Right, I found out that I had a terminal, basically without a heart transplant, condition that had been passed down through generations, and I had gone through some really rough times. I had, eventually had to get a pacemaker, and, they kept telling me I wouldn't live if I, didn't get a heart transplant. And that didn't sit well with me because I didn't want a heart transplant. I wanted God to heal me or, whatever. But with, the medications and stuff that they have nowadays, it's a lot more treatable than it was when I got it because there was no cure, obviously, except a heart transplant. And they didn't have medications like they do now for this condition. So here I am still after whatever, 32, 33 years, something like that. So.
Yeah, so it's a miracle that you're still here.
Absolutely.
And with the same old heart.
Yep. Well, it's not the same old heart because I gave that one away.
Yeah. It's gotten better.
Right. So when you become a Christian, you believe that God takes your heart of stone and makes it flesh, and that's what he did for me. And doctors are always amazed when they see my chart. Like, I had a new cardiologist recently, and he opened the door for my appointment and looked at me and shut the door. And then he's like, comes back in and he's like, I did not expect to see this. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, according to your chart, you should be half dead, And I said, I'm not, obviously. And I pretty much told him up front that when I went off the heart transplant list before that, I wasn't taking all those medications or anything. So don't even tell me about any new medications, any new nothing. I trust my Lord, and I'm not doing anything. So he says, if you continue to look like that, you don't have to do anything. So it is miraculous for sure that I made it that far.
That's awesome, and a great testimony of what you went through there.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can share, moving forward? You have your kids now, your new husband. How was that experience for you?
Well, actually, I have 7 grandchildren, and that's kind of my life these days. I love them to death, and luckily most of them live near me, and 2 don't. But it's always, we just try to enjoy family together, every time we're together. So
is there anything else you can share as far as your experience in the workforce, leading up to today?
No, because I actually got my license as a real estate agent 10 years ago. So I've been doing that for a few years, but then I got really sick and was in the hospital for a period of time. And I haven't been back since. And honestly, I don't know that I ever will, because I feel like God is leading me in a different direction than that. So I'm kind of just a retired bump on a log right now, not doing much of anything. So.
Well, how was your experience in real estate? Because I know that's a very popular, prevalent type of job. It
was way more stressful than I ever thought that it could be. People think that all we do is show houses and make money. It doesn't work that way. It's stressful. The stress that it was putting on me and my heart, I don't think was doing me any good. So I think it's really, I need to look in another direction.
Do you have any advice for people looking to get into real estate?
Do it in your 20s when you're young, because I did it later in life, and I just feel like I'm not as motivated or energetic. I mean, I wish I had done it like in my 20s, because I would have killed it back then. But that's not my priority anymore. So that's not something I really think about doing anymore. I'll keep my license just in case, but
Well, considering everything that you've been through, some difficulties with your upbringing, challenges with your mom, at least, and, dealing with, a marriage, and then divorce, and then murder, and then, a heart condition, all the things that you've been through, is there a few pieces of advice or wisdom that you could share with the viewers as a takeaway?
My advice is, don't wait to get you some Jesus. I mean, I feel like I wasted a lot of years not having him in my life, and now make me cry. And now I can't imagine my life without him in it. And I think a lot of that heartache and a lot of the things that happened probably wouldn't have happened if I had had Jesus back then. So.
Yeah. Well, everything worked out the way it was meant to be. And so.
Definitely did.
I'm very proud of all the things that you've gone through, and you've conquered a lot, and you've come out, with a positive attitude about it. I think that's key.
I think really that's key. Whether you're sick, I think all the nurses would, always compliment me and what a good patient I am, and you're so sweet, and you're, because a lot of times patients get really crabby. But, if you have Jesus in your life, you don't get that down, depressed, woe is me attitude, or we're not supposed to, I mean, yeah, did I have it a few times? Yes. But all in all, I think a positive attitude gets you through life. It has to.
Any other tidbits of wisdom or advice?
Just love your family. It's not an easy thing to do, and we all have personalities that clash, but just love your family, because they're really when it boils down to it, that's all you have, you know? And you can't take money with you. You can't take things that you buy with you. You know, none of that stuff is important in the end, because it's only the love that you get from people and the love that you give that comes back to you.
All right. I think that's a very excellent way to summarize everything. So thank you, Kathy, for joining us today.
Have a blessed day.